Ooh, a spicy question. I
because
love
the writing is sort of everything, right? Like you kind of can fix plot holes, but if the writing isn't
So some
there,
readers love that, and some readers are like, but I wanted more of this. So it's kind of a gamble.
Hello and welcome back to the Right and Wrong podcast. On today's episode, I am joined by a critically acclaimed horror and satirical thriller author who has received 3 Bram Stoker Awards for fiction and is a founding board member of the Shirley Jackson Awards. It's Sarah Langan. Hello.
Hi, good to meet you.
So nice to meet you too. Thank you so much for coming on. We like to start these episodes by jumping in right away with your latest publication, and that is your new novel, Tradwife, which is out in the UK in May and in the US in September. Tell us a little bit about it.
So it's about this reporter who has been canceled, and she thinks that the best way to get back in print in this sort of dying institution that is journalism by covering a tradwife. And going to live on her farm for a week. And it winds up being a horror story. And there's a lot of fun stuff that goes on with it. Sorry, my voice sounds crazy because I have a sinus infection. So I'm
that's okay.
Yeah.
No, it sounds wizened. You've seen things.
like I just smoked 4 packs, right?
that's not how I was going to describe it. That sounds great. The book sounds cool. I like the idea of a reporter who's been cancelled, because you would have thought it would be the other way around, that the reporters were the ones doing the cancelling.
Well, what happens is early on she she's working for this like storied institution in New York, but what's happened in journalism is journalists used to be paid a living wage, and they're not really anymore. It went from, like $1 a word to cents on the dollar. And so she's just coming up at a time when it's not going to work for her. She's got to figure out a different career, and it's heartbreaking because it's all she ever wanted to do. And sometimes you're born at the wrong time. Mm. So she realizes she can't write this serious piece that she really wants to write because she can't get any funding or support for it. And because it's a little bit controversial, her magazine won't support it. So instead she writes this confessional essay about her relationship with her boyfriend. And it's, of course, goes viral because people love that. And it's not what she wanted to be writing, but that's what gets her canceled is controversy over that. And then the next thing is her boss is like, now you should write about tradwives, now that you're established as this like woman who talks about her life so much. And she's like, I don't want to. However, it's the only way she feels like she can get out from under these trolls is to just publish another piece that's bigger.
Okay. So the world of the sort of sphere of tradwife influencers, was that something that you were familiar with before this, or did you have to do a sort of deep dive into that?
I was a little bit familiar because, I'm a mom, and like even on the soccer field, there'd be parents like saying like, did you see this tradwife? Have you seen this? Have you ordered this protein powder or whatever? So I had some knowledge of it. I didn't do too much of a deep dive because it seems, it seems like the manosphere. It's all a little bit the same of what they're putting out. So it feels like it's a way for people to make money who maybe need to make a living, but it's not enriching them as much as it is the platforms.
Yeah, of course. Like all of these, any kind of social media, the platform is the one that's really making all of the money in whatever way it is. Okay, that's interesting. So it's, I see what you're saying. Why it's kind of like the manosphere, where it's like it's not very deep. Like there's not many layers to it. Kind of what you see is mostly what you get.
Yeah. And I think it's sort of these people holding up their lives for judgment and aspiration at the same time. Like there's that interesting I don't know if I did a little bit of research. There's that family that adopted a child because they realized the more often they posted about their kids, the more attention they got. So then they adopted one.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was horrific because
Yeah.
it didn't work out. Like the kid had developmental issues that they were not prepared for. And they wound up giving the kid back or,
Yeesh.
rehousing the kid. And they were completely canceled for it, which, because it brought up all these people who were watching were imagining themselves as participants in this perfect family they'd been viewing. And then this realization that it wasn't that, and this rage, against the mother mostly. It's all pretty interesting. It's like you get paid to put yourself out there, and you're also being paid to be pilloried.
Yes. Yeah. It's interesting. And I can see how it's a very enticing setup for an author where you've got someone who is this group of people who are ostensibly externally presenting one depiction of themselves, but internally are, there's a lot more going on. There's a lot more chaos going on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's necessarily how it is. I wouldn't, there's plenty of chaos in my own life.
Yes.
And I wouldn't post about it,
Yeah,
and I'm always surprised when other people post about their chaos. So it makes sense not to do that. It makes sense to curate it for as a business model.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. But what interested me is like, when we're all being posited right now as brands, right? This is how we're supposed to make money. These are the jobs, right? And it's very much like a Black Mirror episode. When does the mask eat the face? And I'm kind of fascinated by these questions of and why do these stylized, radicalized versions of femininity and masculinity appeal so much? I'm not sure they entirely do. I think the algorithm likes them because they get a response.
Yeah. And I think the algorithm likes to categorize things. So if you can put lots of things in the same bucket, it likes to do that. And then it can just provide the same buckets to lots of different people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So getting onto the actual writing of this thing, and of all your novels, in fact, always like to ask people, when it comes to writing, do you like to plan everything out ahead of time and then kind of work your way through the plan? Or do you just jump right into the prose and kind of see where it takes you?
Well, I used to be a pantser. I would just write until it was done. But I've become a planner. So with Tradwife, I wanted to get it done. And the best way to get it done is to write an outline. You don't have to follow it. But I do feel like the more I've talked to people, like I love the journey of writing. I love writing short stories. I never plan. I kind of just wander through them like they're a wilderness. But with a novel, I can get lost. And then I can have 12 themes when I should have one, and they're all fine. But it's important to pick a few. So I think the outline has been helpful to me as I move forward.
Okay.
My first novel took 7 years to write. My second novel was on contract, took 11 months. And it was like, you know what? I love being on contract just because you have to plan and you just have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, you have a deadline that you're going to have to meet.
Mm-hmm.
So what does a Sarah Langan outline look like? Is it just like kind of bullet points on one sheet of paper? Is it lots of sheets of paper?
It's like, first off, it's like chicken scratch. And then second off, I can't find it. Like I write it and then it's somewhere in my desk.
Right.
But then I have a vague idea of it in my head. And so with Tradwife, I knew what the ending would be, and I had to write to get there. And I think, to me, that's kind of an outline if you know where you're going.
Yeah.
For my next one, I'm writing this book called The Parent Trap, and I'm halfway through it. And I have a bunch of little index cards that I put on a big bulletin board to get through the first half. And now I take them all down and I'm rewriting it so that I can, because, the best laid plans, right? I've never, ever written a book, even Tradwife on a tight schedule that I was on. I've never written anything straight through. I write the first third and then I realize, much as I like it, it doesn't work, for where I'm going, and I have to rewrite it. And then I write the first half and then I have to rewrite it. And usually after the first half, I can get through to the end. So it's like, it's a combination of where am I going with this, but also, there's the little nuggets you find along the way of truth in your characters that sort of sidetrack where you thought the story was going. And it's important to be flexible too, to try and tell the best story you can.
Okay. So you'll often have a few false starts, but once you get to the middle, generally it's a sort of home stretch from there. I guess it's like, it sounds sort of like you're climbing up the mountain, you have to start again a few times. Once you hit the middle, you're at the top, and then you can just run down the second half.
Yeah. And then you get to the end and you go, okay, does the end match the beginning? Should I comb through? And like, I call it combing, like I just think of it as like a really knotty hair where you have to sort of massage all the knots once you're all through.
Yeah. I mean, writing is rewriting, as they say.
Yeah. I mean, the fun part's the writing, the rewriting.
Yeah, I think that's how most people feel. I think that I've definitely spoken to some authors who will say like they actually find the vomit draft, as some people call it, they find that to be the difficult thing, and they're like, I just have to get through it, and then I love when I go through and I fix everything. So I think that there's two different schools of thought on that. But I think in general, most people like the writing part more than the rewriting.
I mean, it depends. Like there's the writing part. What's nice about it is you don't really have to solve any problems. You think, well, I'm going to have to, this arc's going to have to happen, and this arc's going to have to happen, and this conflict has to be resolved. And I'll have to like figure out how to just nuts and bolts writing action scenes. I don't have to do it right now. I can just, wing it. And then,
exactly.
So that's fun. But and then getting it right on the edit is really fun. But staring at the yawning gap between draft and something presentable is sometimes you get up in the morning and go, all right, today's the hard day.
Yeah. I guess the realization that you're like, good for me, I wrote 90,000 words. Unfortunately, no one can ever see this in its current state, and I have a lot of work to do.
And maybe and that killing of the darlings is so hard too.
Yeah.
And I've never, it's always my favorite thing that has to go. That's all right. It's all right. You don't remember it a year or two later that it ever existed. So, or I don't. My husband was like, I told my husband, I was like, I have to rewrite the first half of my book. This is just this week. I'm down about it. And he goes, go ahead and do it. And then just save all your drafts. And I was like, what? I don't save anything. Like, that would be too many books in my head. I just have to, move on. So.
Yeah, exactly. Because like you said, you almost want to forget about it. It's like, no, the final version is the only version. And I don't want to remember the other things that I had to remove or whatever it might be. Yeah, that's interesting. And this is your 6th novel. Do you still find it like you haven't hardened your kind of skin to killing your darlings? It's still upsetting every time.
Oh no, it's so hard. And every time it feels like it's a new book. I was actually talking to this writer, Philip Fracassi. He's a horror writer. And he was saying the same thing, where we were like, oh man, we're writing new books and it's hard. And like, we're trying to figure out new things. And, I wouldn't have it any other way. Like I love the discovery process.
Yeah. You're always learning as a writer, and you're always discovering not just new parts of the story, but like new parts of writing, I think, as of the craft itself.
Yeah. And I still, there's so much room to get better. I just read Lauren Groff's novel Brawler, or her collection of short stories. And I was so inspired by how good they are. And yeah, I mean, and I was also inspired by her structural choices. They're so confident. It trusts a reader to draw their own conclusions. It trusts a reader to make time jumps, in ways that I don't always trust a reader. And, I love reading great books and learning from them and thinking like, I could get better. I need to get better. I want to get better. Like I love that.
Yeah. And for me, sometimes I'll read a book and I'll be like, I will never be as clever or as articulate or as smart as this person.
Well, sometimes
wowed.
It's like they have that strength, but you have a different strength. Like we'll never, that's what voice is, right?
Yeah. The individual personality.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Before we get to the cabin, I did want to ask about, I saw on your website, you write prose, but it says you also work in film, presumably, I'm guessing as a screenwriter.
Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned that, I know that those are two very different processes. And you mentioned that you are a planner nowadays when it comes to novels, but with a short story, you'll still just kind of pants it and see where you're going. What's your process like for writing for film and television versus, prose, whether it's short or long form fiction?
Well, I've done less of it, so I'm not as adept. But sure. I so far have only adapted my own material, and I found that to be not too hard. like because it's already my story, and I think about it, and I wrote the pilot for Good Neighbors as a TV show, and I had a lot of help. I was working with this producer, Aaron Jontow at John Wells, which is like a big production company in LA, and they kind of held my hand through the whole thing, and had me do an outline. And then we talked about like, well, what makes sense to end the pilot on, because there were a couple of defining moments to end it on. And I think what's interesting about television writing is it eats plot. So you just have to always have these big moments in TV where you may not have to do them in a feature film. So it was pulling out all of the big moments and figuring out, which episodes would have what. And then, after that, it was really fun to write. But the problem with screenplays and teleplays is the format I find very frustrating, because I tend to like to work a chapter over again and again. However, if there's 70 scenes or 90 scenes or whatever, it just feels like you're getting stopped every time. And I think that just depends on which medium you work in more. So if you're not a novelist, then you're doing 10 scenes in a sitting and going over them. But as a novelist, I'm looking at the one scene, and then it's really hard to make the next transition. Yeah. And then on top of that, I wrote the screenplay for Pam Kowalski as a Monster, which was my last novella that came out. And that was pretty good. And what I learned was that I actually learned something when I was learning about writing teleplays, about how to do it. And I think, it's been fun. And I live in LA, so it's, it's accessible. Like it's a lot of screenwriters out here.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like it's the kind of thing where you're interested in doing it, but only as an extension of your kind of prose and things like that. You're not looking to write original screenplays. You're looking to do adaptations of your own. stories?
I've written, I would do an original feature because that can be kind of fun.
Okay.
But mostly it's adapting my own material. And a lot of writers don't bother with that, which can make sense. But for me, I kind of feel like I'm out here and I am really happy to learn new skill sets. So as long as they're willing to let me attach myself to my own material, I'm going to do it. And I think I have something to offer because a lot of the times, like they don't know who to hire. They'll option your stuff, but then they're like, who's the best writer for this? And they're not always clear. And it can be, I think I can be an asset in that, just in giving them the initial stab of like, here's what it would look like. And they can move on from there. They can hate it. They can, find somebody else. But I think I'm pretty good at adapting my own work. And keeping the themes in place, because like the reason they get it is because they liked it. And so sometimes they'll find screenwriters who are like, oh, but I have this other idea, and they'll completely change it. And everyone goes, I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know if I like this as much. And it's like, because it's not the same, like I'm babbling here, but that's what I know about screenwriting.
Yeah, no, I absolutely get it. And like you were saying that, you as the author, I think are an incredible asset because, it's an adaptation. It's going to be made for people who liked the book. Like you said, they would have optioned it because they liked the book. And you as an author, like in theory, no one knows the book better than you. So like in terms of keeping it true, an adaptation is always going to be different. It has to change to fit the medium. Like you're saying with television, like you kind of need to mess with the pacing a bit because a book will be paced differently to a TV show. So it's about juggling all of that whilst also keeping it, the voice, like we were talking about earlier. It's about keeping your voice and keeping the story true to what it's meant to be. And I think the author is going to be one of the best resources that a team can use to be like, is this, how would you do it? Do you think this still stays true to the meaning of this chapter or whatever it might be?
Yeah. I mean, I think we're good assets for anybody trying to adapt our work. It's just, it makes sense to me.
Yes.
So, and I don't, you can't like start crying and being like, you can't take that out. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously there's a huge difference between, like writing a novel and making film or television, is that film or television will involve dozens, if not hundreds, of people within a team all working together. Whereas the novel, you can write the first draft by yourself and then you go and work with your editor and you're kind of like there at a certain point. You know what I mean? The difference in the number of people makes a big impact as well.
Yeah. And it's funny. Film and TV people, the writers, they talk much faster than novelists. And I remember thinking, am I the only person who's just like a slow thinker? And it's not, I wouldn't say slow, but just when I'm thinking about plot, if someone's like, what if we change this character? Or what if this doesn't work and we need something else? And I'll go, I'll need to take a walk and think about that. And everybody else in the room is like, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? Yeah. It's a really completely different way of creating.
Yeah. I wonder if it has more akin to like journalism.
I think it's very collaborative.
Yeah.
It's very collaborative. And I think it can only be good when you have a visionary pushing, but that visionary also has to be very good at being collaborative and taking notes. And, the thing with film and TV is that sometimes the notes are just somebody doesn't like something for a financial reason, like, oh, this,
yes.
audiences might not like this, or let's this, we noticed in our algorithm, we can never have flashbacks. And so in a novel, your editor doesn't care as long as it's good.
Yeah.
But a film writer has to go, okay, great, and then has to make it just as good under 20 new confines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
every time
true.
they reach a different step in the process of trying to get a green light.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, awesome. That was a really interesting answer. I'm always curious about how the kind of things work behind the scenes. We're at the point in the episode where I ask you, Sarah, if you were snowed in at a cozy woodland cabin in the middle of nowhere, which book would you hope to have with you?
Okay, I was thinking Adrian Tchaikovsky's Next Children of book.
Okay.
So that would be really fun. Or Philip K. Dick's Ubik.
Okay, interesting. Going for the sci-fi stuff there.
Well, it's like you've got your time to focus. Like
that's true. Yeah,
like that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, think of something where it's like I need to have no distractions and just be nothing else there, so I can really focus and like understand all the minutiae here. Yeah, I love that.
I was gonna give you 100 Years of Solitude, and I was like, that's so pretentious. That cannot be my answer. So
that's that book is on, and look, it's a fantastic book, but that book is the book that you see whenever you see like a celebrity interview, and they're always like, "What are your top favorite books?" It's always on there. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I know." I'm like, "Have you read it?" I don't know. Maybe you have, but
you know what? Maybe I'd finally read House of Leaves. Could I just like, like I've tried so many times.
Well, I mean, let's stick with Adrian Tchaikovsky. He was on this podcast not too long ago.
Really?
It was great chatting with him. Yeah, I mean, he has so many books coming out all the time. I don't know how he fits in the hours in the day.
He's amazing.
Yeah, he's incredible. He's so good. And like it's great to talk to him and know that like with all of his success and everything he's done, he still just loves the craft and loves what he's doing. Like he started playing Warhammer, and then he spoke to the people who run Warhammer, and now he writes novels in that universe for them. I'm like, that's so cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
That is so fun.
Just loves it. The love of the game. Awesome. So Adrian Tchaikovsky in the Cozy Woodland Cabin. I love that. That's great stuff. Next up, we are going to chat a bit about your publishing journey from before you landed your first book deal all the way up to now. That will all be available for everyone listening in the extended episode, which you can find at www.patreon.com/right and wrong.
Yeah, it would. That can be a sustaining career.
Yes, absolutely.
If you had 5,000 to 10,000 dedicated fans, pretty good.
Really good, I would say.
Yeah, really good. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. Great advice and a great place for us to end the episode there. So thank you so much, Sarah, for coming on and chatting with me and telling us all about your kind of experiences with publishing and your journey with writing and everything, and your new book, Tradwife, which for everyone listening is out May 14th in the UK and then out in September in the US. Thank you so much, Sarah. It's been awesome chatting with you.
Jamie, this has been terrific. Thank you for having me.
And for anyone wanting to keep up with what Sarah is doing, you can find her on Instagram at Sarah Langan. She's also on Facebook. And if you want even more details, you can go to her website, sarahlangan.com. To support this podcast, like, follow, and subscribe. Join the Patreon for ad-free extended episodes and check out my other podcast, The Chosen Ones and Other Tropes. Thanks again, Sarah, and thanks to everyone listening. We will catch you on the next episode.